Gladiolus, once they were introduced into Europe and the British Isles, became one of the most beloved flowers of all time. Now, most gladiolus are native to South Africa, and they were brought into Europe and the British Isles during the Victorian era, which ran between 1837 and 1901. There are a few hardy species, like these right here, that are native to Spain. But for the most part, the gladiolus that we're familiar with today all came out of South Africa. The gladiola is not a true bulb. It is actually a corm. A corm is a flattened disc. You can best see it with this example. If I turn it on its side, it's a flattened disc. Now, what's important to know about this is that we think of gladiolas as being perennials in their hardiness zone environments, which were somewhere between zone 7 and zone 11. But in fact, all gladiolus are not perennials. They are annuals. And what happens is that this corm grows a new corm underneath the existing corm. By the end of the season, this corm has died away, and the new corm is what you dig up in the fall if you have to dig up your gladiolus. Now, the gladiolus have to be dug up if you live in hardiness zone 6 and smaller, so 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Those zones you have to dig your gladiolus up. But other than that, in zones 7 and higher, you can leave your gladiolus in the ground and they will come back year after year. One other interesting thing to note about gladiolus is, from a historical perspective, starting at the end of the 1800s and the early 1900s, gladiolus became exclusively associated with funerals. They were such gorgeous plants that funeral directors would order gladiolus to be put around caskets. The downside of that was that people began to associate these magnificent flowers with death. And by the mid-1900s, gladiolus were no longer grown in most people's gardens because they were thought of as the death flower. Now, one interesting cultural anomaly that happened is that as we got to the end of the 1900s, instead of putting flowers around a funeral casket, people were asked to donate to the dead person's favorite charity. And so there were no gladiolus around caskets. And now the younger generations who've never seen a gladiola near a casket love them because they are such beautiful flowers. They last for a long, long time as a cut flower, and they will last for a long time as a flower in your garden. So think about gladiolus not as death flowers, but as the flowers of life.